My name is John Andrews. I'm the head women's coach in Víkingur in Fossvogur in Iceland. I'm a UEFA Pro licensed coach, and that's about it for now. I'm very ambitious and looking forward now to getting involved with Stephen and yourself on the SMUSA project. The reasons I was in professional football for 10 years in England with Coventry City, Mansfield town, and we had I just finished up not my career. I was 23, I think, when I went back to Ireland, and I'd always made a promise to my parents that had I left England, I promised them I'd go back and finish my what we call our leaving cert in Ireland. So I went back into education. I kind of forgot about football, to be honest, which I was taking a break from it. I was about 6 months out. Totally fell in love with education again. Got a very good leaving cert. And I spoke to a guy called Liam Murphy, who was the Cork City manager at the time. And I said, look, Liam, I'm not sure if I want to go back into full-time football. Is there any chance of getting a scholarship? And he said, no, you're too old. So I forgot about it. Just left it. That was it. And about a year later, I was home for about a year. I was playing at a club called Cove Ramblers, which is Roy Keane's first club. And we were playing Manchester United in a friendly that was organised. And I think about maybe 2 days before, Liam had come to me and he said, do you still want to go to America? I said, yeah, if it's on. And he said, there's a place called Martin Methodist College in Pulaski in Tennessee, as I said, which is now the University of Tennessee Southern. And they said, look, they'd like to speak to you. Spoke to the coach, who was a guy called Pascal Dunn, and was over there about 6 weeks later, 5-6 weeks later. For me, I wanted the experience of going back to school. I didn't care too much for playing in the colleges. I didn't really care too much about it. What I wanted to do is get my education. I think that's important as well when we're talking to student athletes, because they're students first. They're athletes. You're there to get an education. It's a huge benefit that you're going to play a good level of football as well. Massive benefit, but you're there to be a student. And I loved education. So when Martin came in, I had a little look. I knew a couple of the people from College to Ida in Dublin that were going to go over. I played against them in the college game, one college game for College to Stefan Nefa in Cork. And so I just said, yeah, okay. And plus I was a big Elvis Presley fan. So I was going to Tennessee, only 2.5 or 3 hours from Graceland. So that sold it. I'm very chameleonic, I fit into my surroundings quite easily, so I loved it. I got into it's a very small town. I think there's maybe 16,000 people or 17,000 people, and the college was about 1,000 of those. The student body was about 1,000 people. So but I loved it. I loved the closeness. I loved the family vibe of it, and it was a good 3.5 years for me. The education then was excellent. We had people like Bill Rutherford and Chuck Pacing, or these Daniel McMasters. These teachers were fantastic, and I adored them. And I used to, because I was a little older than the usual college freshman, I used to get a lot of personal time with the teachers, or the professors, I should say. And they were excellent to me. They treated me like an adult, which I was, at 23, 24 years of age, and I couldn't speak high enough of the American experience. Well, you can take it from two ways. A lot. If you talk about the male athlete, a lot of the lads who go across the American route are lads that maybe have struggled to get into League of Ireland teams or English teams and Scottish teams or whatever. And then there's a chance for them to experience full-time football and go and get a degree for themselves. And then by the time they're finished, they're 20, 22, 23 years of age maximum. They can go and do a year of OTP. They can they can do a master's degree. They can go into coaching, or they can go back to their home countries and give the pro game another go, with the benefit of having a degree in their back pocket. So people will think, oh, you're going to America, the pro game is over. There's been a lot of players that have come out of the men's college game, went back into the pro game because they've got that discipline, they've got that regularity of full-time training, and it's helped them. On the female side, then you'll find a lot of the top players will go to America to get a scholarship. And I think the female side of it, most of the top players in the world would have had a college degree. I could be wrong on that, but back in my day, we would have international players coming from Brazil, Japan, England, all over the place. So we had some spectacular players come through. Martin, also the University of Memphis, these places, players that had huge international experience. So I'm not sure. I can't see cons with it, because the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to have 4 years in the United States. You're going to have a degree at the end of it. That's the worst thing. You've got an avenue into the pro game in America, both male and female. You've got that discipline that you can't miss classes. You have to go to training. You get that discipline, and that can only see you well if you're going to go back into the pro game, let's say in Ireland or England, or if you're going to go back if you're going to try and get into the pro or the semi-pro game in America. It's a very good breeding ground for creating good people and also good footballers. Well, still, I could be wrong on this now, so I'm not too sure. Still in the professional game, if you're 14 or 15 or 16 and you're an elite player in any country in Europe, they're not going to be pushing you to go to America to scholarships. They're going to be wanting to keep you to bring them through your academies and stuff like that. And there's also huge financial rewards in the male game. So that might have something to do with it. I'm not saying it does, I'm just saying it might. And kids might be saying, man, there's lads in football clubs now in the youth team. Like when I was at the youth team at Coventry, I think we were on £170 a week or something. Maybe less, Jesus, might have been less. Whereas there's lads on 10 and 15 grand a week now, 20 grand a week in the youth team. So you can set yourself up with 2 or 3 years of first team football, or 2 or 3 years of even under 18s football. So I'm not sure the lure is there for the male player. Whereas the female players, they get the finance might not be there, in the fee. It might not, I'm not sure, but it might not be there. So the lure and the attraction of going to America and getting a degree and then, because anybody can get injured. Anybody can go and break your leg or do your knee or whatever, and your career could be finished. Well, with you having a degree in your back pocket, or a master's degree or whatever you've got, or it can be 2 years coaching or 3 years coaching in America, it really, really pads out that CV, doesn't it? So, I'm just wondering. Somebody said to me, I can't remember who it was, so I'm not going to put a name to it, but he said that all the best female players tend to go to the US to get scholarships. Mm-hmm. So you say, okay, well, it's obviously a good way to go. I always wanted to be a coach. I loved playing, but it was one of those things. I can remember watching people like Ron Atkinson. I got lucky to work under Ron for a year, but watching people like Ron Atkinson and Brian Clough when I was young, and they'd be talking on the TV about the game, and I always thought I'd love to go into coaching. I was lucky that I was an okay player, and the fact that I was an okay player opened doors for me to go into coaching. But as soon as I was actually on the men's team for about a year and a half in Martin. Didn't enjoy it myself, to be honest with you, because of the fact that I'd come from a very high standard of playing, and it just didn't satisfy my competitive urge, I think. But I looked across, and the women's team would train just after us, and they were super professional. They were all turning up in the same gear. There was brilliant, and some of the players they had. So when I decided to stop playing for the men, the women's coach at the time just said, look, would you like to come in and be my assistant? I'll match the scholarship you've got here, or maybe even better. And I did, and we were lucky enough to be very successful with that team. So that was it. And then I came over to Iceland in 2008, I think, and just went hell-bent into coaching. Read everything I could get my hands on, as regards for the licenses and stuff like that. Funny enough, I didn't take my licenses until 2013, but it was I read everything I could. I always wanted to be a better coach. So it was just a progressive journey. And I can only talk about Niall O'Regan and the lads in the FAI coach education, and also the guys here, Dagger and Arnabil in KSI. They make the licenses so interesting. any coach worth his salt, if they want to get onto the ladder, go and do your licenses. They're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. I can't speak highly enough. But I'm a lover of education anyway, Andrew. You know, I love education. So it was just another way from the nerd in me to learn a bit more, you know. We had won the championship in a place called Vulsinger in 2000 and, I'm going to get this wrong, was it 18? 19? In 2019. And I felt that I'd done all I could with that club. So I said, you know what, I'm going to take a little look around. And I was due to sign for another club for a lot more money. And a guy I played against and coached against, Einar Guyenson, who's the assistant coach here for the men's team, but he's also the head of youth. Einar heard that I was back in Ireland and that I was taking a little bit of a break, and he got the chairwoman to call me. She called me, and as soon as this club came in, it's a club I've always wanted to work. I've always had a bit of an affinity for it. They tried to sign me 4 or 5 times as a player, and I was loyal to my previous club. And funny enough, my previous manager ended up being the head of youth here for about 3 or 4 years. And the day I signed the contract, the first text message I got was from him, Ole Olaf. He's actually in America now as well, and he said, "Welcome home." So I went, okay. And that's how that came about. It was just I was all set to sign for a different club, but as soon as Víkingur came in, as I said, it was for less money, but it's just a club that I've always had a bit of an affinity for. So I wanted to work here. So that's how it came about. Well, they're brilliant questions, actually, especially the style of coaching one. The style of living isn't too much different. You know, it's a lot colder in the winter. That's about it. But then the Icelandics have a fantastic proclivity for adaptation. So they just adapt. Like when the really bad weather comes, they get their toys out. You know, they get the snowmobiles and all this. They go skiing. So it's like, okay, it's cold. We're not going to complain and moan about it. We're going to get on with it and have a great life. So like the tourism here pre-COVID in the winter is just as good as it is in the summer. They do it's just, you know, it's not called Sunland, you know, it's called Iceland. So you come over here and you see spectacular snow and northern lights and all this kind of stuff. And it's so you just adapt. So it's and then when you're going on the style of coaching, I'll tell you a funny story. I was the assistant coach with a team called Afterwelding in the women, a guy called Gareth O'Sullivan, and Gareth is he's just signed, I can't remember the name of his team, but he's just signed a partnership with Celtic in Atlanta. And Gareth was very big in getting me over here. And his wife at the time, or his current wife, sorry, his wife was a player. And they had the players had asked for me to be the assistant. So I came in and I took my first session. Gareth was away doing TV or something. And I was doing all these fun games and these smiley, laughy, jokey games. And she pulled me and she said, "What the hell are you doing?" And I said, well, you know, it's you know, we'll have a bit of fun. She goes, "We didn't hire you to be fun. We hired you because of the way you are with your men's teams." She said, "Well, that's what we want." And I thought, fantastic. And it just clicked me into, and that's my way with the female athletes since, you know, I've been in and out of the men's game a lot. But when I'm coaching the female athletes, there's no real difference. So that competitive nature here, all the kids want to win. You know, it's very competitive and people hate losing, which is still lovely to see. A friend of mine, Thorlakar Arneson, who's just finished up in Hong Kong, the director of coaching in Hong Kong, he did not a study, but like a PowerPoint presentation. And he was saying there was statistics going around about Iceland only having 30% possession, or, you know, 32 or 40% possession. They don't care. As long as they're able to, there's a plan there to try and formulate to win a game. They're like, okay, well, we might have to fight. They love being the underdog. They love having to fight. It's part of their nature, that Viking nature. It's great. I think it's fantastic. I really do. And the amount of training these kids do from under 5s, 8s, all the way up to seniors is they're like, some of them are not paid. Some of the female and male players aren't paid, but they train full time. You know, some of them have jobs 8 o'clock till 4 o'clock, and then they'll take a break, have a little bit of food, and then go straight to training. And they train hard. They train very hard. Like the Icelandic athletes, the athletes here are fantastic. That shows when they go abroad to America. They get on very well over there. You know, the coaches really like the Icelandic players going into America because they know what they're getting. They're getting fit, strong, hungry, very, very good attitude. You know, the talent pool is fantastic. And if you train this much, you're going to incrementally get better every day anyway. So yeah, I'm very impressed with the standard of player here, and I think Iceland is just on the verge now of taking the next step into its development, female and male. I think there's going to be another influx of great players coming through. Might take a couple of years on the men's side to integrate them, but I think you'll see a lot of fantastic players coming through into the senior national team now that may have been abroad in America or may have been, are currently abroad in different clubs. I think it's just on the precipice of exploding into the next level with the young players. I think it's just underway. We go back to about 2004 or 5. I think Stephen was playing at Lambeth University, and they were big rivals. More so the coaches, because both coaches were Irish, and Stephen was a centre midfield player. I was a centre half. And he was a big tall Irish guy. I was a big tall Irish guy. So we'd come into contact with each other quite a bit. And I just loved the way he handled himself, even on the field. He was he wasn't a gentleman on the field, but he was smooth as a football player. And off the field, then he is a gentleman. He's very honest. Very, if Stephen says something, he'll do it. Very focused, very hard work, and very conscientious. And I was really impressed with him. And we keep in touch sporadically over the next few years. And then I ended up doing a lot of his, when I was in Ireland for a year, I'd end up doing a lot of his showcases for his previous company. And we would put them on, and we'd, grade the players and send it on to Stephen. And I just marveled at the work that he used to do. And he's just fantastic to work alongside, because he's one of those people that what you're going to get every time you get up in the morning. He's going to, you're going to get his best. So I can't speak highly enough of Stephen. There's a couple of things. Number one, of course, is Stephen. I wanted to make sure that, if he's going to make a go of something, with a company, I know he's going to put everything into it, as I do. It's the exact same as I do with my own work, my own football clubs. And then the second thing is, I think there's a market here in Iceland for young players there's a lot of players go through a lot of different scholarship companies. But when I look at all the reviews online, and I do a lot of that from Stephen's previous company and SMUSA. I see how people talk about Stephen's character and how the follow-on work they do when the kids actually go to America. They keep in touch. They make sure the kids are okay mentally. They make sure that they're okay, that their classes are going okay. And it just, it just attracts me, that kind of stuff, to help people. I love helping people. So if you're going to do something like that, and you can see that there's something in place, and all I'll have to do is identify players that are hungry and that want that match Stephen's personality, if you know what I mean, to take over to America or wherever he's going to send them. And that was it. It was just the fact that I love helping people. Stephen's putting a great product out there, and I thought, you know what, these kids deserve the best, and I think Stephen's one of the best. I think honesty. I think the honesty factor is missing, not just in Iceland, or maybe not at all in Iceland, but in some scholarship firms, it seems to be the business side of it is first. I don't think that's what Stephen wants. I think Stephen wants to send kids to the right colleges, to the right level that they should be at. There's no point sending a player who's not at the level to a top Division 1 school, if he or she could, if they're going to sit on the bench, and it only hurts your business. So I think that's what I can bring. I can kind of say to Stephen, look, this is a top player, needs to go to Division 1, Big East, whatever we're talking about. Stephen obviously has the final say, but I can tell him. And if people contact through Steve, if they go to Stephen directly, Stephen can come to me and say, look, what do you think of this person? So my knowledge of the country and my knowledge of the players, And then that honesty, I think that's what I'll bring. You know, I think that's what it'll be. I think the kids, when they come through with myself and Stephen and myself, I should say, they'll be put into colleges that suit them, and they'll be put in, and you know that their 4-year experience in the States will be a positive experience. It won't be one where you'll be sitting on the bench, or it won't be one where you'll feel disillusioned. And maybe then the Icelandic player, because there's a lot of the players come back after a year or a semester. Maybe we can get, if we're putting them in the right schools and we're making sure there's follow-ups and the kids are okay, maybe they can get the benefit of that 4-year degree and stay over there for the long term, you know. You have to look into it. If by 19, 20 you're not being pushed into the pro game, and the pro game isn't being financially good to you. Let's say if it's not your living and it's not your life, the worst thing that will happen to you if you look into the scholarship route is that you get to live in the United States of America for 4 years, which is a great country, by the way. It's a fantastic place to live, and then you come home with a college degree from a reputable university. That's the worst thing that's going to happen to you. That's a pretty good worst thing. You can get, as I said, you can get the year of OPT. You can get a master's degree. You can go on. You can do whatever you like. It opens up so many avenues to people that I've seen so many people struggle in football and really push for a dream that they might not have been able to succeed at. Well, why not take that love of the game and that love of and the ability that they've had, and go and get yourself into education. Go and find a different route into full-time professional football. You might end up being an analyst. You might end up being social media. You know, you might end up being, but at least you're still in the game. You know, and you might end up coaching, but at least you're still in the game that you love. And I think that the fact that the scholarship route, especially through America, you know, I'll say it again, it's a fantastic country to live in. The scholarship route is just, I can't see any negative effects to it. If the player goes over with a level of conscientiousness and decides, right, this is what I want, it's a smashing route for a young man or a young woman to go and to develop their life.